Welcome to episode 47 of Imperial Advisor. Today we have myself, Barry, Justin, and Eoin, so we've got a full house. We're going to try and get stuck into the Paris Kotei. We're going to look at some of the numbers, we're going to look at as many decks as we can, and we're just going to talk around the whole thing and see how that goes. Do we want to talk about what we've been doing for the last while? Eoin, you've been working on a fantastic table.
Yes,
you should definitely mention that.
I built a table. I was working on the idea for a gaming table for a while, and what I tried to do was I had a big, long, hard to think about what I wanted in a table, and because I play a lot of RPGs and I play a lot of board games, I wanted a table that I could use for RPGs, and I wanted a table that could be used for board games. So what I decided to do is make a two-layer table. I wanted a table layer where it was an internal thing, a little like a snooker table. And at the bottom of that, I wanted a flat-screen TV so I could project RPG maps on it, do tactical RPG stuff without having to redraw maps every couple of minutes. And then the second thing I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to put a top on that and play board games. The last thing I wanted to do was I wanted to put in cup holders. The cup holders didn't quite work out. So everything else was really good, and it came out pretty well. I did it in hardwood, in mahogany. It was, what happened was I started making it. I almost finished making it. I was like, crap, I can't drill the cup holders out. Looked at it and I went, oh god, this looks too nice to drill cup holders for it. I'm really worried if something will go wrong. So currently I have 10 cup holders out of it, not put into it. I'm being very reluctant to actually drill them into it. So yeah, it is a matter of some, cogitated for me. It's 8 foot by 4 foot as well, which is enough to have like at least 2 games of, and possibly 3 if you really wanted to. So yeah, it's a good table.
Cool. Looking forward to seeing that finally finished. Justin, how have your 2 weeks been?
Oh, pretty quiet. I haven't been doing much of anything actually, except kind of work and the usual stuff. So yeah, very little to report. Almost nothing.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I've been mostly looking at 40k kill team stuff and painting miniatures, so I haven't had much time looking at anything else. But over the weekend we did have the Paris Kotei, and we had a live stream from some of the French guys over there, and we had a lot of updates from guys on the floor. Again, they did it on Lotus Pavilion, which was absolutely fantastic because we were able to see the live updates as they came through, and for me it makes it nice and easy to put some numbers up. So before we get into that, we did get a few new releases. So, Moto Chagatai. Moto Chagatai, I think, is one of the last few cards we're getting to see before the Unicorn Pack comes out. I think we're getting to see the Unicorn Pack around the 11th of April, something around then. So, it's soon enough. It's actually impending. So, Chagatai is a 5-cost, 6 military, 3 political, 2 glory Bushi cavalry character, and has an ability that says this character does not bow during conflict resolution of conflicts in which a province your opponent controls was broken. And he's got a nice little quote that says, where was it written that the Khan of Khans must always be a Shinjo? So I've actually seen some back and forth with some people saying this, it's a 5-cost character where you have to break a province. It's not really going to help you break that province. It's not going to do a lot. And other people saying, oh my god, this is amazing. It'll be in like 3 or 4 conflicts every turn. So, yeah, Justin, what do you think of this character?
He's one of those guys who probably isn't that spectacular when you buy him, but will be utterly devastating when he's charged out. And in combination with the Rhino, like a turn 1 Rhino charge Chagatai is going to be nothing short of nightmarish. And, may just win the game right there and then for a Unicorn player. So, yeah, as a card, I don't have a huge amount against him. He's a 5-cost character. He should be individually powerful to warrant that kind of cost. But, yeah, I'm a little concerned that we're hitting kind of a slightly not combo-oriented, but we're hitting a situation where certain combinations of cards can flip up and just randomly win you a game, or at least put your opponent in a hole so deep that there's very little chance of them crawling out of it.
Yeah.
And Chagatai is just one of those cards. As I said, I mean, he's grand, he's fine as a 5 cost. The real danger is when he gets charged, because that could turn into an absolutely massive blowout. So, yeah.
Eoin, how about yourself? So you've actually got a bit of a... You were mentioning before we got in here about where Chagatai falls on the timeline. So it looks like he's coming out a little bit earlier in the storyline than we were expecting.
Yeah, just to clarify what Justin's saying, to give full weight to the terror, right? Which is, you can make the unicorn, the unicorn that's actually a rhino. You can attack with the unicorn. You can charge in Chagatai. You can break a province. You can sack the unicorn to the stronghold. Immediate, I think you can at least. I think the timing on that works out because it's after you win. Yes, right. So you smash that. You smash the unicorn. You attack again with Chagatai. You break another province militarily. You then have your third military attack and possibly break a third province. Like, this is potentially turn 1. You lose 3 provinces. That's pretty scary. I'm just saying. And
you have been practicing with the unicorn in the crab deck.
Yeah.
How has it worked out for you?
When you get the unicorn and you get rolling with the unicorn, your opponent's in trouble. So yeah. Oh yeah, it isn't cavalry. Yeah. So you'll need a 1-drop cavalry unicorn.
Okay. Well, they've got a few from hand, so yeah, it's all doable.
Yeah. So yeah. So though it's pretty scary though. So okay, so I've been working with the unicorn, and which is actually a rhino, but you know yourself. It's very good. It's some of the tempo stuff, and it's actually incredibly strong. That I find when I attach, for example, I'm using the Tetsubos more. So when you go in with the often Yakumo, you attach Tetsubo as a battle action with the Rhino.
Yeah.
You smash onto Yakumo, not the Rhino. You smash province, and then immediately you declare the next conflict. Your opponent doesn't have an action window between the two of them to do stuff. Now you don't have an action window straight to people either, but they don't have an action window between your conflicts. It's straight into the next one. It's like breakthrough. It's straight into the next military conflict. So there are advantages and disadvantages to that. But it means that, for example, if you're relying on the protection of defend your honor, if they don't not blocking is incredibly risky, so they usually block. But that just means that you can start cancelling actions and defend your honor then. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's I think I don't know if it's going to get restricted, but I can see it being the kind of card that steamrolls people with bad draws, or just not terribly strong military conflicts.
Okay.
Because it gets Phoenix will just stick Kuromorai on their stronghold and they should be fine, but other people will be like, "Ooh, this isn't fun. This isn't fun at all." It'll punish bad starts in a way that not a lot else does.
And I mean, this is kind of fitting in with the strategy that Unicorn have already. They're already running a pretty aggressive early blitz deck. I know the Meek Informant were doing an interview with Frotop recently, and he was talking about some of the early games where, turn 1, you can occasionally get 2, maybe even 3 provinces down by turn 3. Or sorry, by turn 2. Really, really quick, aggressive, that a lot of the style decks that we have currently, which are a lot more focused on that low investment turn 1, so you can make a deep investment turn 2, and you're getting aggressively punished in that approach by the current unicorn decks, which after they get the first 2 provinces down, are relying on some trick cards like maybe cavalry reserves or something like that to try get those last few out of the way. So I mean, it's not too far of a stretch to slap all of this in and then hope for the best.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's more and more of a deck, and it was kind of relying on a lot of weenies, and I wasn't super scared of it, but it's getting a lot better now, because Unicorn don't have a lot of board-wide buffs to make weenies really scary, but they're getting, guys like Chagatai, they start to add up, and I mean, there's so many, they're going to get so much value out of charge, it's ridiculous, that that's just that. they rely, I think, very heavily on charge happening. But when they do, it's pretty heavy. Now, Mola Chagtai, the character you were asking me earlier, Baz. Mola Chagtai is originally a character called Moto Gaheris' grandson. And Moto Gaheris is the Moto Clan champion in the LBS card game, Legend of the Burning Sands, which is the sister card game to Legend of the Five Rings, which was a better card game in a lot of ways mechanically, but came along later and was a victim of Rolling Thunder, which was a distribution method almost identical to an LCG. So there you go.
That's the one set in the kind of Arabian setting with Egypt and Rome and a bunch of other kind of cultures thrown in.
Exactly. So Garrus there is the champion, and then he comes into Elf of War, and he's a really scary character. And Moto Chagtai is his grandson, who shows up in Gold Edition, which is about probably 40 years after the current setting.
Yeah.
So this Chagtai is much. This Chagtai would be not around he would be probably not around at this time of the original arc. So this is a Chagtai coming into play earlier. So it could be the same Chagtai. It could be a different Chagtai because people can have the same name.
Yeah.
But we shall see. Mola Chagtai later becomes one of the big Unicorn clan characters in the old game. So this could be a different Chagtai, or it could be the same Chagtai, just older. Well, effectively older.
All right. Or younger, surely.
Yes.
Older. Yeah. Time dilations. Yeah, okay. All right. So, okay. This is another exciting card. Obviously, Unicorn are in an okay position, I think, at the moment. Certainly not where they started at the start of the LCG release. They've got an entire pack due out in the next few weeks, fingers crossed. So we should see a decent boost. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. The other news that we have is stores are starting to announce the Scorpion pack release kit. So this one was delayed. There were some rumors about the pack getting pulped. I'm just looking at the picture here. I'm delighted it's not, because that is an absolutely gorgeous playmat. And we'll be able to get some of those full art Kyuden Bayushis, which will definitely be happy. All right. The next thing I want to kind of roll over to is a bunch of charts that I want to talk through. Starting on the wrong one. All right. So this is if you have a look at Imperial Advisor, we did some coverage on the Paris Kotei. So the Paris Kotei specifically is significant because it's been the first large tournament that we've had in this environment. A lot have been kind of talked about the environment so far because we've had a multitude of elemental challenges. So there's been tons of people playing, there's been tons of events, people have been able to kind of get a good grip of what's going on, and there have been indications over what's strong, what's weak, what works and what doesn't. So opinions have been formed, specifically around Phoenix. But this is the first time that we've actually had a Kotei in this environment. And to see how it actually played out in the kind of large tournament scene has been really interesting. So we can see the attendance figures here at the start. Obviously, we are seeing a strong showing for Phoenix, Crane, and Scorpion, who were definitely the favorites going into this. We have, I think, maybe a surprising amount of Dragon. Dragon have always been kind of felt to be quite good, but we're only looking at 16 here, which is actually less than Unicorn and Lion. Lion, you can kind of expect to be the bottom. Crab are only at 20 as well, which kind of surprised me. If we look at how people did for day 2, though, 2 Crab made it in, 4 Crane made it in, 2 Dragon made it in, no Lion, which I guess was expected, 4 Phoenix, 6 Scorpion, and 1 Unicorn. So the return rate on that, if you're just looking at percentages, Scorpion made out like thieves, like bandits. So almost 1 in every 5 Scorpion players qualified for the day 2, compared with Crab, Crane, Dragon, and Phoenix that are all coming in around 10%, so between 10 and 13%, and then Unicorn are a little bit lower at 6%. Those seem like decent numbers, to be honest. I know there's a lot kind of discussion about balance and where different clans sit, but seeing like 4 clans coming in around at 10%, one coming in just around 5, that seems healthy enough. I'm a little bit surprised that Scorpion are doing so well, considering the doom and gloom from some of the Scorpion groups. But they're definitely doing well. Then of course we have the bracket. This is only the top 16, so there's an extra 3 players who were cut out in the qualifiers, and it was Nuggets playing Crab who sealed the day again. So we can see at that top 4, you're looking at no Phoenix players. Top 16 has 4, which is a good number, but obviously you've got Anil and Calum playing off against each other in that top 16 qualifier.
I'm looking there at the results, and I think Alwyn, I was playing Dragon.
Yep.
He had a really strong tournament, and then had a horrific top 4 game, where he was playing Nuggets, and I think he went turn 2 for holdings, turn 2 holdings, and 2 cheap guys. So I think that was interesting, because I know John Butler was at the event judging it, and he said that he was playing really well, very strong. And I just went, boom, horrible draw, which can still happen. Like, it's far rarer in L5 War than it is in many games, but yeah, you can still have that terrible draw. You see Eric there, still good player, still doing well, which is always a comforting thing to see. Callum Dale from England, who's a well-known player in this parish, doing well there, Phoenix. That's great to see. Yeah, interesting.
So yeah, I mean, I think there was a couple of surprises in there, but at the same time, no real shocks. I think I'd say the Phoenix may have been a little bit overhyped, if that's fair to say. But Crab coming out of nowhere, it certainly felt that way. How did the Crab react to that win on?
They kind of said, we're still playing the same deck. Guess it's still a good deck. It's very much they're kind of the opinion that not a lot has changed since core for Crab, and there is an element of truth in that. There's still a strong, resilient Crab deck there that kind of can grind out games. It's still a good deck. It's just not as fancy. I wonder I don't know if the environment's sped up much yet. Don't think it has.
It depends on the matchup. There are certainly some decks that can be a little bit more aggressive than others. We know Phoenix and Dragon can be super aggressive, but the playstyle tends to be, or at least in my experience, to hold back a little bit unless the opportunity approaches itself. Apparently, the Unicorn deck can be very, very aggressive, and actually is trying to push often for early provinces to try, to try and make up for kind of weaknesses in the long game.
Yeah. See, I'm wondering. I know what the promise of Unicorn is meant to be, and I think they may actually hit it with their pack when they get just a few more cards, that they're meant to be this aggressive, fast faction that punishes some of the slow building stuff.
Yeah.
I'm interested as well in seeing kind of Assassination being a one-of in a lot of decks.
Well, hold that thought, because I did spend some time. We got some percentages, but we can look at those another time. I did spend some time going through some of the top cards just to see what is popular out there. So this first quick chart just shows the count of decks that are playing cards. So in this case, it doesn't matter where you're playing 1 card or you're playing 3 cards. So you can see Imperial Palace and Bonsai are up there with 17 out of the 19 players who made day 2. Court Games at 16. Favorable Ground at 15, Censure at 14, which I found an interesting one. 13 Imperial Storehouses, not a surprise. There's Assassination, so 12 out of the 19 decks were playing Assassination. which can be a real help in those kind of blitz scenarios.
How many copies were they playing? Were they just playing one?
Let me push forward. I think I have a little bit more info on that. So there was 24 out of the total of 19 decks. 24 assassinations were in there. So what's that? That's a possible 60. So you're probably looking at maybe 1 to 2 in most decks.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I'd say you're probably looking at 1 in most decks with 2 in a couple. Probably Scorpion.
You know the way the deck lists get shared in the top thing?
Do they still? It's been a while since I've made a top cut.
Just doing it. We keep doing it. Technically, they're not. It's not in the rules anymore, but we keep doing it. And I'm wondering how much of that is one assassination to keep people honest from going, yeah, you're not running assassinations. 2 cost card, 3 fate. You know? I wonder about that. Because certain 2 cost guys with 3 fate are really strong and very, very annoying for your opponents.
Yeah.
And people weren't looking at deck lists anymore. Would people be playing 2 assassinations, or were they just going, I'm going to play one, let's see what happens. Like, I don't like one-ofs. I don't think you draw them reliably enough, but that's just me.
Well, it depends. This game's a little bit different than most. I think if you're in and especially with Crab have their one big strategy a lot of the time. But for the decks who are drawing 5 every turn, you can quite aggressively get through half of your deck, maybe more, and like one-ofs. Having the right one-of in that draw can be key and can work out for you. Justin, what are you thinking about these numbers? So actually, I'll go through a couple others. Mia Mystics at 11, Ornate Fans on half of them, Let Goes on half of them, Fine Katanas, For Shames, Cloud the Minds, Noble Sacrifices, and 8 out of the 19 decks. Sorry, my font is a little bit slow or low.
Oh yeah, well it's just that there are an awful lot of core set cards still there, aren't there?
Yeah.
The core set continues to completely dominate the power curve of the game. Yeah, I mean, it's not a particularly interesting observation. Imperial Palace, I suppose that just goes to show that gaining and controlling the Imperial favor is considered super important now.
And we can see it with Censure as well. Censure is making a big
absolutely with Censure. But to me, this indicates a potential problem, which is that negation is becoming, or is at least considered so important, either to further your game plan or to counter another player's game plan, that if you're in a situation where essentially counterspells are almost required, you have to play counterspells to do well, or to expect to do well, then I think that is indicative of an environment that has potentially a few too many overpowered effects. And it is...
And just to back up your point there, I'm going to skip on to the top events here. Obviously, there's 19 decks in total. You can max it out at 3. So max that a deck could have is 57. So, not everyone is playing court games. There's only 47 out of that possible 57 that's played there. But you can see there's 29 censures in there. There is 13 Voice of Honors, 12 Forged Edicts, and 12 Defend Your Honors. So that's a lot of cancellation right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is an awful lot of cancellation. And I mean, as I said, I think that the issue that this actually points toward is that there are too many potential blowout effects in the game at the moment. Actually, Travis in chat is listing them. Yeah, Cav Reserves, Jin, Fight On, Consumed, Display, Noble Sacrifice. Yeah, I mean, these are all, huge potential blowout effects. And the only way you can really beat them is with counterspells. Or at least the best way to beat them is with counterspells. The lowest kind of effort to reward ratio involves counterspells.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of, that again is a real concern, because you're in a situation where if you have the counterspell, you're golden. If you don't have the counterspell, you're screwed. And that introduces a significant, obviously it's our old friend variance again. So variance comes knocking. If your opponent draws more, blowout threats than you draw answers, well, you could be in a bit of trouble. But again, this is an issue that we brought up a number of times. Is that like the card design for Five Rings in a lot of ways kind of resembles where Magic was about 20 years ago, with either you have the answer to the horrifically overpowered effect or you don't, and that kind of determines which way the game goes. It's definitely something to, for me anyway, it's definitely something to be concerned about going forward, and we should probably talk about it's maybe something we should talk about. I mean, because like Legend of the Five Rings, like the old version of the Five Rings, actually had very much the same kind of problem in its original incarnation. Like in the very old days, again, like kind of 20 years ago, give or take, where you
30 years ago.
Yeah, like about 20 years ago, where you had, single cards that were just hugely powerful and had completely game warping effects. And both Five Rings and Magic answered that problem in a very similar way. In Magic's case, it turned the game into a game about creatures, more or less, where it was, you created board dominance through creatures, and creatures became the main vehicles by which you won the game. And in Five Rings, it became about battles. So interaction during battles became massively important, and essentially battles were where the game was won and lost. So at the moment, what you have in New 5R is you have a game that is moving toward a kind of non-interaction, where you have significant blowout effects that have really huge impacts on the game state. And because of that, they tend to trump a lot of the game's core mechanics and core identity. So, how this gets answered, again, presumably for Five Rings version 1, this is the style of game they're going with. For Five Rings 2, whenever the second edition comes out, then it'll be interesting to see if they take it a different direction and go again the way that kind of Five Rings and Magic did. But for the time being, well,
look,
it's
a design choice, and it's obviously
it is a design choice.
It's a choice they decided to go with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's something. Yeah, it's just as I said, it's something to be aware, thing to keep an eye on. And we've seen other huge blowout cards, like Killing Blow, stuff like that, appearing. So this situation looks like it's just going to, I don't know, become more aggravated. But that's just the way things go. Like it's a particular style of game, and it's a particular game experience. And obviously, like as you said, it's the one that the designers have chosen.
Yeah. And for the listeners who aren't named Tyler, the lesson here is to play counters, because counters are strong.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh. Look at that 29 copies of Let Go in 10 decks.
Yeah. 19. No, it's 19 decks. It's almost 20. Almost 20. So you're only looking at half the decks have the full 3 copies.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at that going, like, Let Go and Censure, like, that just, Let Go being there is just like, okay, there's no other attachment card near Let Go. I mean, I think there was a last minute design change to Let Go, and I think it did not calibrate Let Go correctly. I mean, you can't make a better attachment to kill card than Let Go.
Yeah,
that's somewhat terrifying.
And once you compare it to Voice of Honor and 4G Edicts, who both have kind of requirements and have ways to play around them in theory, Let Go just doesn't have that. You can slot it into any deck. You don't need courtiers. You don't need to maintain more honored characters. You just draw it and play it.
Yeah, and like you got Censure as well up there at 29. I mean, that's assume almost entirely Phoenix. And like you got massive court games, but court games, I don't think court games ever going away. It's just too cheap.
Should it? Is it worthwhile putting on restricted list purely to force people to make decisions?
You don't put a card in a restricted. Well, okay, you have to start with the restricted list is for first. You don't put cards there just because they're good card. like decently playable cards. It's just that probably court games is so cheap and so easy to use that automatically slots in deck building. And yeah, I think that's I think Banzai's up there as well, but like Banzai's a massive amount of power. Court games has less power, but it's in a conflict that is harder to get strength pumps in. So
yeah, but if there was a mutual understanding that no one played court games, we wouldn't need to play court games because we wouldn't have any court games to court games.
Yeah, more or less. But that is because it is the counter to itself. And yeah, you've got like it is interesting watching looking at all those. These are a lot of these are answer cards. You know, because Banzai's not what everyone else is, but in some ways Banzai's the counter to Banzai.
Yeah, and obviously this is slightly skewed. We had like 6 Scorpions, so obviously you're seeing lots of 4 G-Dicks. So you had lots of Cranes, so you know Voice of Honor, Noble Sacrifice are going to up there. So I think Way the Crane and Way the Scorpion both factor. Supernatural Storm obviously is coming in from the Phoenix. So, but you know, it's an indication. It gives us some idea. So this is back to the first one we were seeing already. The provinces I think are quite interesting. So again, obviously you can only play 1 province. So 15 out of the 19 decks were playing Upholding Authority, with only 3 opting for Vassal Fields instead, and 1 playing Entrenched. So Earth, the choice definitely is Upholding Authority by the looks of it. Although obviously we've talked about the Shinjo Scout, and now that kind of changes the mechanics slightly. Manicured Garden with 14. Obviously the Air is going to be a little bit more popular because a lot of the clans, numerous clans, were able to use Secret of Air, so that was an option. Shameful Display is the most popular Void province, although Pilgrimage and Kuramori are in there with 4 each. Meditations on the Tower, most popular Fire, but Magistration obviously for the Crane, and Restoration of Balance for the Dragon. And then for Water, Midnight Revels at 8 beats out Rally to the Cause at 4. There is 1 along the River of Gold, and obviously you don't need the full 19 because the Seeker clans are going to be doubling up. So, you know, if you're brand new to the game, you're not sure what to run Upholding Authority, Manicured Guard, the Shameful Display, Meditations, and Midnight Revels, and you're probably doing something right. Is this a problem? Or do we have enough variance within, or do we have enough choices within these provinces?
Like Upholding Authority was the kind of the first Earth province that had a bit of teeth to it,
yep.
And some people wanted a better Earth province to throw in the row, so they could lose it. Like one of the issues I think in design is there aren't enough provinces that have a good strong effect that you want to defend and keep alive. There are 1 or 2. They're mostly clan specific, and you've got a bunch of really strong provinces that you like to have strong effects when they break. Often stronger effects than when you reveal, which is, you know, a little, you know, I understand why, but yeah, I'm not sure the province design really hit the sweet spot yet. I would be interested to see how they would redesign provinces. But I mean, the Earth provinces should be tanky provinces you might put in your stronghold. I think it's morphed into, well, I can get more board position from Upholding Authority by potentially stripping a key action, or maybe more than just 1 copy of that key action from my opponent's hand, which is good. And then after that, I mean, the Air provinces, like what else there? There's the Manicured and there's Fertile. And then after that, there's some clan-specific ones that are probably good, but most of them are blah. Frostbitten's good, but it's secret, it's airlocked, right?
Yep. Before the Throne is mentioned, and Secret Cache, of course, is never leaving those Scorpion decks.
Fire.
Sacred Sanctuary for Dragon.
Yeah. Fire is Meditations. Night Raid doesn't tend to pay off very much. Meditations occasionally can be a good blowout early in the game. So you stick that in the row. I mean, it's kind of a problem of the ones that have come along later. The core set ones are the core set ones, which are very applicable to everybody. But the ones that have come along are elemental locked, or they're clan locked, or they're very narrow and focused. The cycle of ones that do stuff and they blow up from the previous cycle were probably the best set of new provinces we got. And we haven't got another one since then, really. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, presumably we'll get more in the upcoming cycle. I'd expect maybe one province per element every cycle is probably a decent rate. Illustrious Forge did see play in this top 19, which is kind of cool. So we'll be looking at the decks later. We'll have a chance to go through those. Justin, Seeker of Air, 9 out of the 19 decks. So almost half of the decks were playing Seeker of Air. What do you think?
Yeah, resources. Resources are good. You know, someone hits your Manicure Garden. That's 2 fate. 2 fate is enormous. Yeah. They hit your Fertile Fields, 1 fate and a card. Maybe not quite as good as 2 fate, but pretty close. Yeah, it's just, you know, fate resources are always going to be important and playable. Particularly the first kind of 2 turns of the game when a significant amount of fate hasn't really entered. You know, just getting those boosts of fate can be hugely important in terms of opening up options in how you defend and or attack your opponent on those turns.
Yeah.
So it's just a case of pure resource gathering. It's also a showcase. You know, it really changes the face of what you can do and how you can play the game, opening up options. Yeah, it's just resources are good. So I think it's just like the provinces themselves aren't overwhelming in terms of their power, but when you compound them by getting additional resources from the Seeker ability on top of what they're already producing, it really pushes them to a completely different level. And so a province that would be in most cases pretty decent or, you know, marginally decent becomes much, much more powerful. So that's just what you're seeing.
How do you feel about how do you feel about the current Seeker Keeper roles? Like not the fact that there are Keeper Seeker specific cards, but the actual roles themselves. If Tyler down the line was to cycle out the existing roles and bring in new ones, do you think it'd be a good idea or a bad idea? Do you feel the balance is right? Like, does that extra Seeker Fate, is it too much?
Oh, that's a really difficult question to answer. Because, I mean, when you take a look at what you're getting from... I mean, okay, so Seeker is supposed to be aggressive. Keeper is supposed to be defensive. Generally, in card games, you want to be the aggressor. You want to be asking questions. For the most part, that doesn't hold entirely true, of course. But in general, you want to be the person asking questions, not the person answering questions.
Yeah.
You know, there are no wrong questions. There are only wrong answers. So from that point of view, and I mean, the thing is, like, experience has borne that out as well. Like the defending has never really been good. They kind of made a stab at that with Crab, and yeah, they made Crab good at defending. But it's just those things. I mean, as more cards enter the game, then theoretically things should balance out a great deal more because there are simply more options available, and you get kind of like just the fuzzy variance tends to balance things out quite a bit more. Situationally, that's a different question. Yeah, we see more resources is always going to be good, whereas the more defensive related cards of the Keeper role are more situational, and because of that, they're probably a little weaker. But that said, the value for the Keeper cards is higher. So it's a tricky one. Yeah. Like changing what they do, absolutely fine. Do they need to be changed? I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay. I was putting you on the spot a little bit there. That's fair enough. So these are the events again. I just note that we had 7. We had 7 Keeper roles. So just to defend your honors, there's 12 there. So about half the players, in theory, all 7 could be going with 2 each, or half of them could be playing the full 3 or something similar. Okay, so attachments. Obviously, we're seeing the Frank-Katana, the Ornate Fan, and Cloud the Mind as the kind of regulars coming in from 23 to 27. Again, that's out of that total of 57. So obviously the numbers on the attachments are much lower than the numbers you're looking at the top events. Reprieve. Reprieve is a big one, as is Embrace the Void. Then we have Marcus Shame and Watch Commander. Owen, we're looking at a lot of crab cards there. What are your thoughts on crab attachments?
Well, Reprieve's pretty fabulous as a, hey, one fate, save a guy for a turn, or save him from a nasty kill effect. So, like, Reprieve is pretty awesome, and I believe Reprieve is only one influence as well. I never checked crab influence costs, really.
Just one.
So, you know, what but Reprieve is cheap and very effective. I do wonder if we were splashing crab. So some people must have been. Maybe dragon.
Dragon were, yeah.
But yeah, and then there's Watch Commander, which is in some ways a win condition ish. It's the kind of card that makes me think crab aren't going to get much other honor loss stuff. Just because of how much of a choke it can put on your opponent, especially if they're slightly incautious on their honor bids and bid 5 willy-nilly, you know.
And just to say on that, there's 9 Watch Commanders made it into day 2, but only 2 crabs. So it looks like some player is maybe playing a full 3 Watch Commanders in their decks.
Yeah, even a 3 influence, you kind of go all in it, because the rest of the crab stuff is fairly cheap, and like if you can get that character into multiple conflicts, you narrow your opponent's options considerably.
Yeah,
you know. And like you've got Fight On, and you've got Steadfast Wonder, you know. So you've ways to get that multiple turns out of a guy.
Glance ahead. It was Ralph Pfeiffer, who was I believe he's the winner of the Italian Kotei last year. He was playing a dragon deck with 3 at the minute, so it's a dragon dishonor deck splashing crab. We'll have a look at that in a bit. Kind of interesting.
So yeah, like Watch Commander is a very strong card. Reprieve is very, very strong as well, just because Reprieve is much simpler to use. It's just point and click, attach to guy. Guy does not get discarded at a turn. That is strong, and it's also defense against someone setting up for a
5 fires,
5 fires, or a Voice of Honor, or any number of horrible things that will happen to your character when just remove him from the game. Like no save, That's if you can see it coming or know how to defend against it, that is pretty strong. So, yeah.
All right, so no real surprises there, and obviously we know all of the Phoenix are going to be running Embrace the Voids, because that's a pretty stellar combo they've got there. Holdings, obviously we're looking at a lot of favorable grounds, Imperial Storehouses, and although the Imperial Palace is only here at 17, obviously there's only 1 in the deck, so you're not going to be playing. That means 17 of the 19 players were playing the Imperial Palace. Then yeah, if you look at the next few, the Forgotten Library, Secluded Shrine, Iron Mine, and Hidden Moon Dojo, all very, very strong cards. Secluded Shrine, this is the Phoenix counter to Phoenix, Justin? Am I remembering the right shrine?
You are. So it powers up a few of your cards. It powers up the Solemn Scholar, powers up the Prodigy of the Waves, but it also gives you, it helps you toward the favor as well, because it gives you a ring that counts toward the favor. And it saves you from Tadaka, if Tadaka hits, because you just named the Ring of Earth, and you've got the Ring of Earth in your claimed ring pool, and Tadaka is turned off. So it's the Phoenix card that helps beat other Phoenix decks. So if you're expecting a large percentage of the meta to be Phoenix, then it's just a very, very useful card to include in your deck.
All right, excellent. All right, so from here on, let's go have a look at some of the actual decks. So the first one we're going to start with is the actual winner. So we're doing winner up, or are we doing bottom 19? Let's start with Nuggets and work our way down. We might speed up as we go further down. Owen, will you take us through this crab deck, which looks really similar to all of the other winning crab decks that we've seen before? This is almost a replay of last year.
Yeah, so what's changed? You've got Defend Your Honor in there. You have anything else?
He does actually have the Yasuki Procurer, which I thought was super interesting.
Well, Procurer is cheap as chips and makes attachments cheaper, and he has Reprieve, Spyglass, Talisman of the Sun, Watch Commander that he can, and Cloud the Mind that the Procurer can all help pay for.
Does the Procurer work with the characters as well?
He does. He works for characters. He can actually use them in the Dynasty phase if you really need to.
Yeah.
But usually not due to tempo reasons.
Okay.
But yeah, the No Assassination, he's just running one way of the crab, which is a little high risk, but sure.
So is this the I'm playing it, you need to be scared scenario? There's no assassinations either, which is interesting.
No. Like, I'm trying something different at the moment. He's running along the River of Gold, which is interesting. That is the most unusual thing in the deck. What has he got in a stronghold? Meditations?
It might be along the River Gold on the stronghold. A lot of the time, I'd say people are going to be attacking politics on the stronghold, and this might give him an option to switch a high military character into, like, switch Casada into the most politically adept courtier in the world.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, other than that, like, it's Satoshi, it's mill your deck, get more Satoshis / Karada District.
Yeah.
Fill up your guys for your keeper. It's good, resilient, solid deck. It is neither super. It's not like kind of super aggressive, nor is it super weak to anything. It's it's a standard good crab deck. Is there anything that jumps out at me as super unusual? No, it's just it's a similar solid crab deck to what we've been playing before. Defend Your Honor is the big change from a couple months.
A really, really good change too.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not going to flick back to them, but the stats for Crab put Scorpion at a significant advantage for the Paris Kotei. Do we think that's to do with duty?
For Scorpion against Crab?
Yeah, because, one of the nice things with Crab is they can kind of lock you down with low honor, force you into poor decisions. But Scorpion, if they draw into the duty, can have a little bit more leg room. And obviously they're able to use their stronghold to steal a bunch of honor while they're at it.
Scorpion was always the toughest matchup for the Crab choke deck, because they stayed alive that little bit longer. And duty can be really significant as well. But like that deck is hard to drag down, because they have, depending on what tools they're running, they can be like, you're dishonoring some of my guys, which you sometimes will. And you go, I'll discard those dishonor tokens by paying fate. Or they've got a lot of little honor control tools, and I think like Lion used to be hard because they honored all their guys all the time, but that's kind of fallen away a little bit. But it's. No, I'd say it's just, it's Scorpion. They were always a tough one for Crab to kind of drag down there, All
right, but this is a classic Crab. Presumably Nuggets has been playing it for a full year at this stage, I assume. You just need the right matchups, know how to play the game, and a little bit of luck, and then you win a tournament, right?
You could mill yourself for an awful lot of cards in this deck. He's got 3 Satoshi, and he's got Karada District, and I think that's it. I'm looking for another Imperial card in there, and I'm not seeing it. There's no Imperial, there's no Palace, no. Yeah. You can mill yourself for an awful lot of cards in this deck.
Okay, well, it does mean you can get your Corrado exactly when you need it, right?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Yeah. Ooh. You're bidding low, You're bidding low.
Let's see what else we have. All right, so that was Nuggets, who was the winner at the end, and congratulations to him. Second place was Eric Balhus, who is the Shogun. So another fantastic performance from him. So he's running he's running a crane deck here, Splashing Dragon. Justin, do you want to have a look through it and see what you can see?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so starting with the provinces. We have Secret Fire. So we have 2 fire provinces, which are Magistrate Station and Meditations. Entrenched is going under the Stronghold, which, given Crane's strength of politics, makes a lot of sense. And then we have Manicured Garden, which is just efficient resource generation and Shameful Display, which both helps Crane with their honoring theme and is one of the most painful provinces to attack into. So looking through the Dynasty deck, we can see that there is a focus on duelists. He's got the Challenger, Kaizen, and Toshimoko in there. We've got a slight focus on hand control. We've got a couple of Paragons of Grace. Attack alone, they can force an opponent to discard a card, and if they're honored, that card discard is at random. Apart from that, it's all pretty standard stuff. Narishma is maybe the other kind of slightly unusual inclusion, but I think Eric very much likes to try and balance out his military and political capabilities as much as possible, and Narishma's 3/1 stats would certainly help to do that. Holdings-wise, we've got Favorable Ground, the best holding in the game. We've got 3 Storehouse for card draw, 3 Kikita Dojo. So that starts a duel. The loser has their ability turned off. And if the winner is duelist, they are also bowed. So that is, again, that would have to explain the significant presence of duelists in the deck. It's real conflict domination, the Kikita Dojo, if it can be kept around.
Yeah.
So moving on to the conflict deck, events wise, again, Eric is a huge fan of his assassinations, and Crane is one of the few clans that can actually run assassinations more or less with impunity because they honor so many of their characters that the honor tends to balance out over the course of a couple of turns. 3 Banzais to power up his dudes for various duels. 1 Censure to complement 3 Voice of Honor, so a number of counterspells in there. And then he likes standards like Court Games for Shame, Let Go, obviously, Way of the Crane, 1 Noble Sack for point, click, and kill. The attachments, Katanas and Ornate Fans, and Formal Invitations. I can only presume that he invites people, to a specific function or a party, and then slices them in a duel. I would imagine that's part of what he does.
Or he can make sure his duelist turns up to every.
Absolutely turns up to every soiree. So basically he's leveraging the dueling by either pulling other guys in or moving his duelists in to make sure that they get the duel off, and making attacking and defending against him very, very difficult. Then we've got 9 conflict characters. We've got 3 Ancient Master. So obviously the controlling the favor is, again, very, very important. So Ancient Master tends to be played for his 2 glory rather than his stats. And then a fairly standard Famiki, 2 rival, 3 Steward of Law. So, it's, again, so we've got a deck where Eric is leveraging the standard kind of Crane strengths of honoring a guy up, using the bonus stats to batter, duels, and then a bunch of support cards to make sure that his duels are effective in whichever conflict he needs them to be effective in. Yeah, all in all, very strong. So
does all seem to flow nicely together.
We're being honest.
It does, yeah.
On chat that Eric said in his report that Maya Mystics could be cut. What do we see as good replacements for those slots? Great of an embarrassment of good 2-cost characters, right? So that shouldn't be too hard to find.
Does it need to be a 2-cost though?
It doesn't need to be, but that's the slot, and let's not change the pay structure too much. Your organization's your organization. You can't go willy nilly up under the pay cap. 2-coster.
Yeah, each, if they're already, then maybe you simply reinforce what you're doing. Again, maybe a little off message for this deck.
Just looking there. What would be good?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking through the options myself, but I'm not sure I'm up to the task to fix the Shogun's Crane deck. All right, we're gonna move on to the next. So this is one of the top 4 decks. We were talking about this already. This is Alwyn Bushek's Dragon deck. So Mountains, Anvil, Castles as a stronghold, Secret Void, Sacred Sanctuary, which typically goes under the stronghold, Upholding Authority, Restoration of Balance, Pilgrimage, and Shameful Display. So pretty classic provinces out there. Characters, starting off with Agasha Sumiko. Then we've got... let's just skip through the relevant ones. Again, actually, this is an interesting one. This is another case of 2 Mia Mystics, which is the same as in the previous deck. I wonder if people are playing the 3 and are just trying to squeeze a little bit more room in. So, yeah, many of the choices here are classic. Dragon have some pretty typical 1-cost characters in the Doomed and the Togashi Initiate. They're definitely the high-value ones. They've got some great 2-cost characters with the Swordsmith, and yeah, the Raitsugu, the Investigator, great 3 costs. The Tranquil Philosopher is an interesting addition. So the Tranquil Philosopher is the one that moves around Fate on rings and can get you an extra point of honor when it does it, which is kind of cool. 3 Favorables, 3 Imperial Storehouses, all great, an Imperial Palace. Muramoto Dojo. So again, we're looking at the same as the Crane deck, where you've got a couple of holdings that are generating jewels. And in this case, they have a similar effect to Muramoto Ratsugu. So a normal jewel, they'll bounce the fate back to the owner's pool, but if it's a duelist, it just gets removed altogether. So working well, you know, it kind of comes really well with Ratsugu, where you use the Muramoto's Dojo first, then you kill if they've got no fate left, or remove another fate if they've got one left. So it's a less direct, less maybe impactful on the conflict, but maybe a greater impact on the overall game. 1 assassination, so, you know, putting that little bit of a threat in there. Not always something that appears in the Dragon decks, but obviously recently the Dragon decks have been able to get a bit more leeway on honor with just the way they've been playing. Bonsais, we're seeing censures again, so Dragon are obviously keen on the dishonor. On cancels, just like everyone else is. Court games, Hurricane Punch, Let Go, all classics. 1 Mountain Does Not Fall, so we're seeing a Crowd Splash. 3 Void Fist as a restricted card. 1 Ancestral Die Show, 3 Cloud, Fine Katana. Yeah, so these are all the classics. 3 Reprieve, 3 Seal the Dragon, 3 Ancient Masters, which will help you get that favor for your 2 censures, and 3 Tattooed Wanderers. So this is very, very close to the test deck that Mind's Desire had before, and has performed well for a lot of Dragon players, and is a classic for a reason. Obviously, we can see a few changes with, you know, the addition of Muramoto Tomi and the Tranquil Philosopher, but they're minor changes. All right, yeah, I like it. I mean, it's been working. It's good for a reason, so it's a popular option, and there's no real surprise that it's still doing well. All right. The next out of the top 4 is Vincent Jolivet, who is a Scorpion player. Owen, do you want to tackle this one?
Yeah, let's have a look-see. Woo! It's killerific. It's so you've got your it's gonna make life unpleasant for your opponent. You've got your 3 assassinations. You've got your playing Forged, making the hard choice to play Forged Edict and 2 Censure, rather than go to the Sweet Street monstrosity that is Fate Worse Than Death. So it's using Noble Sacrifice instead. Nice. It's got 1 Kiriko. I'm looking over there to see, does it have Himetsu? It doesn't. Interesting. 1 Bishikichiko, 2 Yogo Kikyu, which is a good call, I think, in a heavy Phoenix environment, and enough other people are playing spells that you might like it. 3 Mark of Shame. Soul Beyond Reproach is honor your guy twice, isn't it? Yeah.
Airlocked, so.
And Mark of Shame is -1 politics and dishonor them twice.
Yes, but attachment rather than an event, which is the differentiation between them.
Important, because you can't cancel someone putting an attachment on you. The Noble Enforcers, the big brutes, just got military challenges. Yeah, it looks like I mean, if you look at that, it's playing 3 Baishi Aramoro. That's interesting.
Well, Aramoro is very good with Soul Beyond Reproach, because you can use his ability, he gets dishonored, then you can boost him up. Yeah.
Other than that, I mean,
it's more kill as well.
like there's a lot of good control in this deck. A lot of no kind of denial and different stuff. You've got your you got attachment control from calling in favors. You got like lots of good answers in this deck.
Arguably, it's all control. I mean,
Yeah.
assassination kills things. Bonsai counters bonsais. Calling in favors wrecks attachments. Censors a cancel. Court games counters court games. Duty for dishonor. For shame, I guess, is an active card. Forged edict is a cancel. I can swim cancels characters. Kiriko. I think some of the dragon were having poor matchups against Scorpion, and I think this might be one of the reasons. Kiriko wrecks decks that have a lot of actions. Obviously, there are ways to play around it, which sometimes involves not playing actions or not activating the actions on your characters, which is super painful. And obviously, Noble Sacrifice cancels characters. Soul Beyond Reproach cancels Dishonor. Way of the Scorpion cancels Honor. So it's almost all cancellation. Very Scorpion in many ways.
Decently expensive for a Scorpion deck on the Dynasty side. I was looking there. Aramoro showed you the Noble Enforcers, Hirue. Only one Hirue, but still.
I think we have been used to at least local playstyles where if they have to pay more than one cost for a character, they feel like they've been ripped off. So
yeah. So apparently this deck killed Guest of Honor a number of times with Mark of Shame and Shoju, which I can definitely see. So yeah, nasty card. Anything unusual in the province row? No, just hope. I've got so much economy. Yeah. I get that is a nasty row to attack into though. Whew. What am I gonna get?
Yeah.
Best case scenario, I'm getting 2 Fate. That's unpleasant enough. Secret Cash. What a card. A lot of card. No, nasty Scorpion. Prickly.
It's good.
Real fun. Yeah.
It's a classic example of the Scorpion style. Okay, this next Phoenix deck is under the title of QTT as the player. Justin, do you want to take us through it? So another Kyuden Asawa Seeker of Air deck.
Yeah, okay, so again, we'll start with the provinces. There's a bit of an unusual choice in one of the air provinces. He's played Frostbite in place of Fertile. So, a concern with attack. This can help in 2 ways. You can take things like clouds off your own important characters, or you can, if someone's coming in towered up, like a lot of the dueling decks may have, then Frostbitten Crossing can do a lot of damage. So then you've got Manicured Garden, Holding Authority, Meditations, and Kuroi Mori, which are all very, very standard. Dynasty-wise, on the characters, the Shibi Yojimbo is a card that's kind of regained a huge amount of popularity again. So it's popped up in a number of the decks in day 2. Apart from that, it's fairly standard. Naive Student is a card that's kind of fallen out of favor, but has appeared here. 2 Master Gisei Toshi, a very powerful card against anybody. But
can I just interrupt you there? So 1 cost characters with that draw cards when they leave play have fallen out of favor with the Phoenix?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, carry on.
Yeah, I don't make the rules. I can only comment on what I see.
He's a courtier, not a Shigenja. I totally understand why. It's still kind of funny.
Pretty much, and but again, it's one of those things. Like when the environment slows down, he's going to leave. When it speeds up again, he'll come back in. I don't know. It's so anyway. Apart from that, as I said, 2 Master Gisei Toshi. A very good card against anybody but Phoenix. A really super terrible card against Phoenix. Again, with the preponderance of Phoenix expected in the environment, then maybe that got cut down to 2. Ujina Tadaka, the big bads of Phoenix at the moment, and then just the super efficient bunch with Ethereal Dreamer, Sakotsuki, Adept of the Waves, yeah, all kind of standard stuff. 9 holdings, so 3 Forgotten Libraries, very standard. 2 Imperial Storehouse, not so standard. 1 Kanja District, still broken, standard. Secluded Shrine, yep. Imperial Palace, no Favorable Grounds, which is quite surprising. I would consider Favorable Ground basically a staple, but didn't go with it here. So on the conflict side, we have 3 Against the Wave, standard, 1 Assassination. Yeah, Travis and I have had long discussions about this, and I think this actually goes back to what we were talking about last time, which is about kind of the European style versus the American style, where the American style is all about super efficiency and honing your deck to being the most efficient at what it does, whereas the European style tends to value, I think, flexibility and reactivity a little bit more. So that's possibly why we're seeing an Assassination here. 3 Banzai, 2 Censure, 3 Clarity, 1 Consumed. Again, 2 would tend to be the standard now, but he is playing 1 Karmic Twist instead. So I think he's gone for slightly more situational efficiency, while still retaining the kind of the blowout power of Consumed. But in 1 copy of it, you're just that bit likely to see it over the course of a game. 3 Court Games, 2 Display, very standard. 3 Let Go, and Supernatural Storm, all bog standard. 2 Cloud the Mind, quite surprising. I would have thought 3, considering how many awful characters there are out there. I would have thought 3 was standard, but if there are a ton of Let Goes going around, maybe not. 3 Embrace standard, 3 Ornate Fan standard, and then we have 3 Ningyo, 3 Shrine Maiden, 2 Tattooed Wanderer. So Feral Ningyo is actually, because talking about the Phoenix not playing 1-cast characters that draw cards, Phoenix decks have also moved away from 0-cost 3/2s. So I think, but yeah, so it's just that the Phoenix playstyle has changed just that fraction. It's moved a bit more toward a control style and a bit away from the out-and-out aggression that kind of typified Phoenix decks just a few months ago.
Is there an interaction with Ujina as well? If you drop the Feral Ningyo, will Ujina kill that Feral Ningyo?
Oh god. Ujina is when you win. Feral Ningyo. No. Ujina is when it's claimed. Feral Ningyo is when you win. So I'm pretty sure Ningyo gets shuffled back in before Ujina casts him into the void.
Okay.
But Feral Ningyo, the thing is, Feral Ningyo, it's kind of a weird situation. So you have Phoenix decks Phoenix away from the aggression and into a slightly more controlling space. So what you possibly have here is someone deciding to stick with the aggressive edge in their Phoenix deck as a means of combating those slightly slower decks, because the Ningyo is a much more tempo-oriented card. So yeah, that's possibly what happened here. I'm not sure. I don't know the decision-making that went in behind it. But overall, it's a pretty standard Phoenix deck. It's not... you wouldn't consider it the kind of the cookie cutter carbon copy Phoenix deck. There are a few kind of bits of flair here and there. I think kind of the Karmic Twist, the Feral Ningyo.
I have to admit,
apart from that,
I do like the Frostbitten Crossing myself, especially because it means if your Tadaka gets clouded, you can use a Frostbitten Crossing on yourself to get rid of the cloud.
Yeah, this deck really hates cloud. You really want to keep that off their attackers or Reginas. It's got 2 Mind Mystic, Frostbitten Crossing, and 3 Let Go. That is a pretty strong statement about how much it dislikes Cloud of Mind.
All right, well, let's keep you talking, Justin, because the next deck is Calum's top 8 Phoenix deck.
Okay. So
spot the differences.
Okay, here. Spot the differences. Yeah, basically there'll be a few cards different, but we can talk about those. Okay, so Calum's deck is running basically the standard fixed bronzes, which is Fertile Manicure, Upholding, Meditations, Courier Moray. All super efficient. Obviously, like Meditations doesn't have any real competition in the fire slot at all, so it gets played by default. But there are choices.
Sorry, I think we've
Okay.
lost you briefly. So maybe try give us that again.
Uh,
Oh, have we lost Justin completely?
He's still there. He's just slow.
He's thinking. He's
He's
straight.
doing the thing where the maths hover in front of his eyes. He does the calculations and works his way through it.
Yep.
Ancient Master and the Censures seem to be a big difference here, where it's just going for more cancel, I guess. Lock those in. You also get to power up your Kanjo district, which is super nice.
Yep. You're looking there. I think people were saying Anil and Callum were both playing the same deck as Travis's deck, so good stuff. But Neil has apparently helped tune it, so it's not entirely Travis's deck. As I give you the repeated update from the stream chat. Yeah, I mean, it's it's strong Phoenix deck. I mean, there's a hell of a lineup there at the 5 cost and 4 cost line. You're back,
yeah.
No,
You're back?
he's not. He's not.
I'm crapped out.
You're still looking good, so we'll let you go along with that. This isn't actually the deck that Neil was running. We're going to get onto that one soon enough. So there are some interesting differences in that deck that I think we'll call out once we get there. But yeah, this does feel like a archetypical Phoenix deck. So if you're a Phoenix player out there, I think this is an excellent one to kind of take with and run with and start making the changes to yourself. It'll definitely form a strong base. Yeah, we'll be looking at that one minor change that Anil had, which I think is kind of cool. All right, we've got another Scorpion deck here. So this is Hallion. All right, let's see if we can quickly skip through if we have any major changes. Midnight Revels makes an appearance here, so it's water. Loyal Challenger made it into this deck, which I was quite interested by. I quite like the Challenger. Oh, the extra jewel element, I think, is quite cool.
And the extra honor loss on losing a conflict, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's after this character wins a conflict, gain 1 honor, and after lose a conflict, lose 1 honor. Actually, I should have mentioned that this is a Kyuden Bayushi deck, so it's a different approach here. And then the Loyal Challenger has an action during conflict: initiate a political duel, resolve the duel, treat the printed text box of the duel's loser as if it was blank. So they're actually a good way to blank out opposing characters if you want to. But this deck is different to what we've seen before. And I think it's probably worth going through a few of the cards. So Alibi Artist we're seeing in most of the Scorpion decks currently. So this is it's a cheap 1-cost character, zip 2, and if you have 6 or fewer honor, you can use it to essentially draw a card. You get to look at a few cards before you do so. Amoro we've seen, Liar we've seen, Manipulator we've seen. I'll skip through. We just talked about Challenger. Midnight Prowler is an interesting one. So Midnight Prowler is a 2-cost 2/1. That came out in Children of the Empire. It's a Bushi, it's a Shinobi, it's got 0 glory. And reaction, after this character wins a military conflict, look at the top 2 cards of your opponent's conflict deck. You may discard one of those. Discarding isn't really a focus, so I think this is probably being put in just because it's Shinobi. We've got the Reclusive Zokujin, which is a 3-cost 3/1 creature. During Earth conflicts, it gets covert and is immune to enemy card effects. We've got Shusuro Actress, which we're pretty typical with. Miyako, who we know. Shusuro Tekao, who came from a Scorpion pack, but hasn't really seen a lot of play. It's a 2-cost unique, 3 military, 1 political, 0 glory, Bushi Shadow Shinobi. While a dishonored character is participating in a conflict, move this character in or out of that conflict is the action. Social Illusionist. Then we've got Favorable Ground, Hidden Moon Dojo, Imperial Storehouse, and Imperial Palace. So this is a Shinobi deck. And we can see more of that if we look over on the Dynasty side. So we've got that 3-cost ambush card. So you can, during conflicts, choose up to 2 Scorpion characters with a total of printed cost of 6 or lower from your hand or provinces and put them into play. So it's kind of like a mini charge, or a similar charge. We've got Bonsai, Calling Favors, Duties, Forged Edicts. There we all kind of know. From the Shadows is a card that we haven't seen a lot. So it's a 0-cost event. Play only if you're less honorable than an opponent. During a conflict, put a Shinobi character into play from your hand or province into conflict. That character enters play dishonored. 2 Kiriko, Spies at Court, and actually just mentioning the Dishonor and Spies at Court specifically. So it's a core set card. Doesn't always see a lot of play, but after you win a political conflict, you can dishonor a friendly character to discard 2 cards at random from your opponent's hand. It works well with Kyuden Bayushi because Kyuden Bayushi it lets you can bow to choose a dishonored character you control and ready that character. So you've got an honored character, you go over, you win your political conflict, you Spies at Court, you can then straighten that character because they've been dishonored. Wave Scorpion, Court Mask, Fine Katana, Infiltrator's Tools. So Infiltrator's Tools is one of these new ones. It's a 0 cost attached to Shinobi character attachment, and it gives them covert. So we're seeing a lot of covert options in this deck so far. Ornate Fan, 3 Reprieves, 3 Haruma Skirmishers, more covert. 2 Shisora Sadako. So this is that 2 cost 1/1 Bushi Shadow Shinobi with 3 Glory. So good for taking the favor, obviously. But the ability, while this character is dishonored, add its glory to its military and political instead of subtracting it. So that makes it a 4/4 rather than a 0/0 when it gets dishonored, which is pretty great. Unassuming Yojimbo, 3 of them. That's more covert. And then Yogo Kukyo, which is that classic anti-Phoenix cancel the spell character jump into play. This looks awesome. This is the Scorpion deck that I want to play. Shinobi everywhere, lots of covert, straightening effects because you've got with the Kyuden Bayushi, and then going in with more covert again. Looks super aggressive and a lot of fun. What are your thoughts on its own?
Isn't it a shame that even in a deck that's actually leaning into the being a Shinobi thing, they're not running Earth and they're not running Discouraged Pursuit? Like, isn't it a shame? It's like, yeah, Secret Bear is just better.
Remind me, which one is Discouraged Pursuit?
Discouraged Pursuit is the Earth-locked Scorpion card, the free one, which is, during conflict, dishonor a friendly Shinobi character. Choose a participating character until the end of the conflict. That character gets -4 military strength.
Yeah, but if you've coverted everyone already, there's no one to face against.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm just looking and going sad. Like, what do they get out of Secret Rare? It's just the economy, isn't it, on the board, and just have all of that sweet fate coming trickling in for you.
Yeah,
like getting 2 fate in turn 1 when your opponent is foolish enough to attack you. Yeah, a bit sad.
Oh, yeah.
So I like seeing the Zokujin there because I think the Zokujin is a crazy good card, which is not saying enough play.
Yeah,
good to see that there. Good to see that there.
And I think I've got a note here. I think
the Prowler is interesting. I wonder, was that a math fix? I need one more.
Just to round it out.
Yeah.
So John was saying that apparently Hallion, who played it, said he liked the deck because it was like playing the Unicorn deck that's out there currently, but you could actually defend.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
All right.
Yeah, it's not as prickly control Scorpion. It's more a beat you down Scorpion. This could take a lot of people by surprise.
Now, we actually mentioned a deck similar to this a few weeks back because a deck along this style, at least, did win one of the US Kotei or Elemental Championships. So it's on the radar. It's different to kind of what the prototypical one was. So it's good to see, and I think this is a design success. That this deck and the Scorpion decks we've been looking at earlier are completely divergent. Obviously, there's some similarities because they're the same clan, but I think I would say this is a success in a secondary style for a clan that is successful and competitive.
It's got 3 Forge Edict, I suppose. Travis bringing up that Noble Sack really hurts it. I can see that. But yeah, you want to Forge Edict that. Plenty of guys for being dishonored.
Yeah, but Noble Sack is going to hurt a lot of people. The fact that you're going to have a target-rich environment on the Scorpion side of the board just means that the Crane player will have the opportunity to waste it on a smaller character earlier. Like, I don't think many of these characters are necessarily key cornerstones to the deck, if that makes sense. Like, obviously, you've got your one Shoju, your two Aramoro, who are big characters. Once you get your unassuming Yojimbos down, you know, they're kind of a chunky cost. Well, I guess they're only 3. So yeah, he is right. He is right. Definitely have more targets, but you're only normally looking at 1 or 2 out of a lot of decks. So yeah, I mean, I can see it being easier to play against this deck, but you know, they're just going to dishonor somebody else. It's all good. Although the fun thing is, yeah, honoring them. Honoring them is a way to actually mess with the deck, because if they think they're going to get away with having their character dishonored, and all of a sudden they get honored again, then they can't straighten them. Then they can't do anything with them. Kind of funny. All right. Next up, we have a Julian G. So we're in the top 8 still, but this is the last of the top 8. So this is another Crane deck. How is your connection doing, Justin? Do you want to see if you can give this a shot?
Yeah, sure. If you can still hear me.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. Okay, so now we have a Keeper of Air deck.
No, I'm not sure we
can. What? Oh, really? Oh, God.
No, you're back now.
Am I back now?
Yes, you are. Yeah, you are.
Okay. So, Keeper of Air this time, not Seeker of Fire. So, Manicure Garden, pretty standard. Upholding, pretty standard. Magistrate Station, pretty standard. Shameful, pretty standard. And Midnight Rebels, which is seeing a bit more play. But I'm kind of surprised, actually, it's popping up in a Crane deck a little bit. Because they do like their high-cost characters. But anyway, we'll move on. So, going through the characters. Brash Samurai, pretty standard. Callow Delegate. Cautious Scout making an appearance here. So, turning off people's provinces, always nice. Well, when he's attacking alone. Narishma. So, Narishma is obviously seeing a bit of a renaissance among Crane players. 3 Challenger, 3 Whisperer. So, we've got some of the cheaper options that we maybe didn't see with Eric's. Guest of Honor, Asami, 2 Kaizen, 3 Toshimoko, 3 Yashi, 2 Mystic, 1 Paragon of Grace. So it's really quite similar in Dynasty composition to Eric's deck. And then holdings, 3 Favorable, Imperial Storehouse, 3 Kikita Dojo, 1 Palace. Yeah, pretty standard. Then comparisons on the other side. So Soul Beyond Reproach is, I suppose, one of the key cards that gets introduced. It's airlocked, so the air roll is required to include it. And Defend Your Honor, because it is a Keeper of Air deck. So a Keeper deck means Defend Your Honor. Apart from that, it's actually pretty similar to Eric. We've got, the 1 Censure, Court Games. 1 Disdainful Remark is, I suppose, an inclusion here as well, allowing the player to just have a participating courtier and then massively boost their province strength for the cost of a fate. We've got 1 Noble Sack, Voice of Honor Way of the Crane, 1 Form of Invitation as opposed to 2. So obviously inviting people to come to your parties and then murdering them. And then 9 characters again, so a slightly different selection. 1 Famiki, which seems to be the standard. A Menacing Iron Warrior, Political Rival, Strict Law, and 2 Tattooed Wanderer for some covert action. So, all in all, very, very similar in many respects to Eric's. Maybe not quite as razor focused as Eric's. A bit more amorphous, I think. But yeah, it's a Crane dueling deck. So yeah.
So I guess Crane know what they're doing, which is a good thing.
It seems to be. I mean, I think Crane have really they've rather than kind of going whole hog on the dueling thing and focusing their entire deck around it, they've just basically slipped it in and used it to kind of highlight and massage some of their deck concepts. Just basically produces, it's another threat vector that you can have to account for. It's doing really well.
Okay, so we're starting to drift into the top 16 from here on out. So we're going to be a little bit quicker. We're not going to get in such great detail. the good news is we should have seen all the kind of major kind of key concepts of the decks. So next one is Seratna, which is a Scorpion deck. So let's have a quick look. Actually, this is another. This is kind of a mix of the two previous decks we've seen, with a Dishonor complement and God, I have no idea what's happening anymore. All right, so City of the Open Hand. We have a couple of the Shinobi characters we were talking about before. So we've got the Reclusive Zokujin, who's not a Shinobi but is more covered. We've got Shosuro Tekao, none of the big ones that we were seeing before. But on the other hand, so it's Fate Worse Than Death rather than Forge Edict. 3 Assassinations for the Kale, 3 Backhanded Compliments, so this is maybe the Dishonor style. 3 Censures, 3 Calling of Phasers, 3 Court Games, 3 Display of Power, so Phoenix Splash, 3 For Shame, 1 I Can Swim, 1 Karmic Twist, 2 Kiriko, 3 Out of Scorpion, and then a bunch of characters. So Out of Shadow, Bayushi Collector, which clearly is its way of dealing with attachments, because I can't see, because it's just that and Calling in Favors, of course. 1 Bayushi Kichiko, 1 Cunning Magistrate, 2 Cunning Magistrates, 2 Meek Informants, and 1 Seeker of Knowledge. So yeah, this seems to be mixing it up a little bit. A bit of a Dishonor and a.
This is heavy Dishonor.
Is it heavy Dishonor?
Yeah, look at that backhanded. Look at those assassinations. Look at those Fate Worse Than Death. Look at the Display of Power. It's going to go. You
blackmail artist.
Fastest.
Yeah.
It was up on the choke. You know. Look at that.
So this is a Dishonor deck making top 16 in a big Grand Kotei. That is awesome to see. I mean, terrifying to see, and I hate playing against Dishonor most of the time, but. All right.
Yeah, but it's the third Scorpion archetype that we've seen in this Kotei. So the Scorpion seem to be in an extremely healthy place. So much for those stories of doom and gloom. They maybe have a little bit too much to look at.
John was playing a deck a little like this for a while, and he was getting a lot of mileage out of ignoble enforcers. Because he was just like, well, let's buy them and like do military challenges. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, which they haven't made it in here. But yeah, playing against that deck, I did find the ignoble enforcers quite painful, purely because they just sat around for ages.
Yeah. And if you're bidding one, you often have tons of honor to work with that you are otherwise are doing nothing with. Well, you're playing for assassinations, but apart from that, this is slapping on the choke turn 1. And like, look at all those things to buy you time. Look at all those 4 shames, and you're not getting the Ring of Air when you want to Display of Power, like Fate Worse Than Death he's sending at home. Like this, it's got 3 Censure as well. It's going to lean on that cancel because it doesn't have a Forged Edict. Yeah. 1 I Can Swim, 1 Karmic Twist. With those 3 assassinations, with this, with all that fate, you're really spoiling us. Yeah, seems good.
All right. And the next one we have is another Shogun. So this is Samuel Benes, who was playing Scorpion. Again, I think he was in the last big tournament he was attending. He also played Scorpion. I think that was World. So what are we looking at here, Eoin? Talk me through this one. Is this similar or different again?
Let's have a look. We got Fate Worse Than Death, Assassinations.
This is like a mix of the first deck and the most recent deck. It's like...
Yeah. It's
a control deck, not Dishonor.
It's more control, yeah. This can Dishonor you, but it's not going to as reliably as the other one. It's gonna, it's mainly gonna win by just controlling the board and grinding it out that way. Look at those. You got Soul Beyond Reproaches, Noble Sacks, 1 Voice of Honor, 3 Assassination, Like this again, it's hey, life's unpleasant for you. Leaning again heavily on Censure. 2 Goblin Sneak. But he's not playing the card he designed. Come on, man. We'll throw at least 1 copy of that thing in there.
So someone did ask him about that. And he did say that he actually designed something that was flavorful and fun. But yeah, it would have been nice. If I had a card I designed, I'd be playing one of, no matter what.
Like, flavorful and fun. Doesn't he understand that the purpose of a world design card is to get something that's almost immediately put on the restricted list? You have someone draw 3 cards on it and gain 5 fate, and oh no, it'll have as a cost destroy your opponent's card. Effect, gain 5 fate, lose 5 fate, so you can cancel the effect.
Maybe this one is a sleeper.
Could be.
I mean, I'm pretty sure if I pull out my most recent list of playtesters, that I'm pretty sure I'll see a Samuel Benes in there somewhere. Yes, I will. So he knows what's coming. He understands how these cards are developed and how mistakes are made. So we'll have to keep an eye on that card for combinations in future decks.
In some ways, it looked like an attempt to do a better version of the core set Ronin. But it didn't work out. So, hey, 3rd time's the charm on that one. We'll get something out of that spending fate at some stage.
It might be really good in the upcoming Unicorn deck with the new Unicorn Stronghold, where it just massively outperforms you and can crazily outspend you.
You could probably get other stuff you can spend your fate on, though. But
that's madness. That's madness.
Yeah.
No, I won't hear it. All right, let's move on. So we've got another Phoenix deck here, Justin. So this is from Anil. I'm pretty sure the only difference on the one Calum was running is the Fire Elemental Guard. Talk us through that decision.
Right, so the Fire Elemental Guard, if you're in an environment where you are concerned about attachments, then you run Fire Elemental Guard because they destroy attachments. I think Phoenix have long hit the critical mass of spells required to trigger their effect. You have to play 3 spells during the same conflict for their ability to go off. But yeah, they blow up attachments. So if you're in an environment where Crab, Dragon, Phoenix, and maybe Unicorn are a problem, then they're a really strong play because they like to deal with the huge value attachments that those clans can go with. And yeah, so what we got Travis saying, -1 Atsuko to 3 mana Gisei Toshi. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I disagree with the players who are playing 2 Master Gisei Toshi. That card is so crushing in matchups where it's good that I think you want to maximize your chances of seeing it in those matchups. Whereas Atsuko she's fine.
But just fine.
Is very, very strange. Yeah, she's fine. She can be amazingly good. Like she's an astonishing, she's an incredible stronghold breaker. She's the best stronghold breaker in the game, probably. But that said, she's not essential. The deck can easily win without her. So yeah. As I said, Fire Elemental Guard, meta choice, and the rest of it looks looks just exactly as you'd expect.
All right, cool.
Just a clarification from the chat. Apparently, Kujiro's Hireling, the Samuel Benes card, originally spent Fate for military boost and spent Honor for political boost. But that was apparently too strong in Scorpion as a way to control their Honor. So that.
All right. So he did his best, but he got caught. All right, that's fair.
Yeah, he got that.
I respect that. All right, the next one is Ralph, who we were talking about before. So I'm pretty sure this was the Italian Kotei winner. This is the one we're saying where he's splashing 3 Watch Commanders. It's not the full. I guess I would say this is not the full Mirumoto's Daisho Dishonor deck, but it's getting there. So you're looking at a lot of similarity on the Dynasty side that we've seen in other decks. So Akasha Swordsmith, Doom Shigenja, Kitsuki Investigator. Kitsuki Shomun is a different choice. So that's the redirect the Dishonor onto Shomun and straighten Shomun. So it's good when you're dealing with Scorpion and Crane to an extent. It helps protect your big units as well against Dishonor effects like FX.
Double sacrifice. So
that's what I was thinking. Double sacrifice.
I can swim.
So you got Hitomi and Ratsugu, who are your big duelists with their dual effects. Your Mia Mystics, Prudent Challengers is another duelist with a dual effect. Togashi Initiate and Togashi Yakudi, who is not a duelist but will get a dual effect as soon as he can. Favorables to get you into those conflicts. Mirumoto Dojo is an extra jewel again. Proving Grounds to draw cards, and Imperial Palace. Then on the conflict side, so you're looking at Assassination, 3 Defend Your Honors, another jewel, 3 Indomitable Will, so you can attack or defend with one character, and then be ready for another character after that. 1 Karmic Balance. I love this card, especially against the Phoenix matchup. It lets you clear out their discard so they can't recycle cards, and clears out your discard so you can use other cards with Tadaka in play. 3 Let Go, of course. 3 Policy Debates for more jewels. 1 Warm Welcome, which is incredibly reliable with the Mirumoto's Daisho. 3 Cloud Mind, 3 Daimyo's Favor to afford all these attachments, 3 Finger Jade to protect your character, 2 Hawk Tattoos to get your characters in so you can jewel, 3 Mirumoto's Daisho, which is obviously stops your opponent from bidding 1 or 5, lets you get the Dishonor in, 3 Reprieve, 3 Watch Commander, 2 Wave the Dragon, and 2 Tattooed Wanderer. Okay, this is a lot more dedicated Dishonor than I actually thought it was when I was going in. My normal expectation has been that players would be playing with the Crane Splash, so they'd be able to get that extra jewel, which doubles up with Wave the Dragon. But yeah, looking at this, especially with the Watch Commanders and the Reprieves to keep things ticking along, is probably doing just as well. This looks like a lot of fun. Where did Ralph get knocked out?
You know what? I look at this deck and go, man, it's a pity. Like, Restoration of Balance is fire, because this is a deck that actually use Illustrious Forge pretty reliably.
Yeah.
Just looking at all those dudes. 20 questions.
So Ralph actually got knocked out by Nuggets, the eventual Crab winner. So he got beaten out in the Crab matchup, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, as Travis is saying, this is absolutely horrible to play against. So I haven't played this Crab Splash version, but I certainly have had opponents sit across the table at me and go, so I can't defend and I can't attack, what can I do? For about 5 minutes, and then it's a shake hand concede kind of situation, which I guess is kind of terrible. And obviously there's some kind of interesting tricks on how you play this deck. Like, you kind of want to play your Mirumoto's Daisho into the conflict rather than playing it before, which seems a bit strange, but it means if they try to let go, you can defend your honor and kind of other fun things like that. The bidding structure is also a bit strange because at some point you kind of want to slam it back to 1, but you want to draw as many cards up to that point until you're pretty confident that you can dishonor people down. But the flip side is it can actually be pretty aggressive if you if you give it an opening. It definitely can take provinces and can do some damage. I like this deck. Actually, I mean, is this in our last cast? I did suggest that this might be a kind of a problem deck, especially the Mirumoto's Daisho, because I do consider these decks to be combo setups where sometimes your opponent just can't win. And I think what you were saying, Justin, before about this game turning into do you have the solution? If you do, you can keep playing. If you don't, you've just lost. This deck might be a kind of exemplar of that, especially when you've got cases like Before the Throne in it. Like, if you hit Before the Throne, they drop a couple of duels on you. You know, you're winning the conflict, but you're losing the game. Sorry. Yeah, it's
I think it's mostly unpleasant for people to play against, rather than. I mean, I don't think it's this deck this is unbeatable, or it is a deck. If you have the answers to it, you can definitely win, and it often actually gets stomped if you have the answers.
Yeah.
But so it's kind of one where one of us is having fun in this game. Yeah. And I mean, new players especially can play themselves into a hole against this one. If you don't know what you're doing, if you have to read Mirumoto's Daisho, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
It's one of those cards where it's like, if you have to pick up the wrong card in this thing, you're in trouble. If you have to pick up and read Mirumoto's Daisho, you are in trouble in this format, So it's going to be interesting. Not interesting good, just interesting. It is the kind of deck that new players find horrible to play against. It's to be sealed to be played against experienced players only.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the approach I took was to kind of use Good Omen instead of Reprieve. But yeah, this Watch Commander Reprieve option might be worth checking out. Cool. All right, let's have a look and see what's next on the list. Oh, we've got a Unicorn deck. Yay! All right, so this deck is credited to Ide Nobu. Do you want to take us through this? You know a little bit more about Unicorn.
6-0, didn't he?
For the first day, yep, he was one of two. It was him and Alvin. So the monk dragon deck that we saw earlier, not the most recent one. Yeah, and just those two, I think, was it?
Yeah. Thunder of Hooves! It's the Unicorn Clan, and they're here to kick ass. Yeah, it is. Let's look at this guy. This is straight thrust deck. I'm going to hit you in the face really fast and really hard. Can you do anything about it? So what we got? Keeper Fire, Manicure Guard, Vassal Fields, Meditations of the Tau, Pilgrimage, Midnight Revels, a bunch of some cheap Unicorn, yep, some more expensive ones. Motor Nurgle, he said, was very important in his deck, as was Tetsuko, if I recall correctly.
Can you remember what those characters do?
Nurgle is the send home the person with the highest glory, and Tetsuko is...
She's the magistrate that makes defender's card. When she's attacking, cards played by the defender cost one more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not playing Komoko. Minami, so our big charge targets here. We got Minami, Kaze regulars, probably Shahai, Alton Sarni he's playing. A flashback to many, many moons ago. Shinja Shono, big charge target. So yeah, a lot of scary guys. You get your standing, your Windstep Yurts, your Shitomi encampments, which are great. And then you got Banzai, you got Captive Audience. We are taking it to the Octagon. You've got Cavalry Reserves, a.k.a. Save Your Cancels for Me. You got Challenge on the Fields. You got Charge, a.k.a. No, you save your cancels for me. We get Defend Your Honor to maybe stop some of those cancels. It's got 2 hand-to-hand because it's not super interested in attachments, but it is interested in killing them. It's got 1 eye ready, 3 ready for battle, which is phenomenal. 3 strength in numbers. Hey, some more send home. I'm not seeing any routes, but yeah, he's into his send home. 2 Unleash the Jinn because everyone can stand to be a 3/3. Yeah, you've got Find Katana, Invocation of Ash, Goblin Sneak, Akoma Reservist, who is just a good 1-drop. Aichi Wayfinder, who's an excellent 1-drop. Shinjo Ambusher, who's a good 1-drop. So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it is a deck that's just going to come at you, and it's going to smash your provinces, and it's got a lot of ways to have lot of little guys. And it's really hoping to land that Cavalry Reserves to finish off. Or that charge, both of which are going to be pretty rough on you. Yeah, he wasn't big in Komoko. I think he said she was basically too slow, really. Yeah, Nobu had an extensive write-up on his deck list. So that is worth taking a look at because he explains most of his choices. That kind of Nirgu is big because it can send people home, and Tsuko is big because it cuts down what your opponent play.
And we do have that link in the Paris Kotei article. If you go through the deck list, most of them will have a link at the top. And if the player actually did post their deck list with write-ups, the link is there. Yeah, cool.
And Alton Sarnai, apparently he gets some value out of it. He says she comes out, and some clans don't like having to discard a guy. Yeah.
All right. Seems reasonable. Yeah. Okay. So this is early aggression coupled with some strong endgame cards. Lots of send home, which is kind of surprising. I guess
it's just aggression all the way down. It's just aggressive at every stage of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. All right. Cool. All right. Let's see who we have next on the list. Trying to skip through it.
Yeah, I suppose it's also worth interesting to note that send home in this game is considered really, really bad until it's not, and it's really, really good. So this is a deck that is definitely erring on the side of making send home really, really good.
Yeah, well, I guess once you get to that kind of last province, if you can get those first few, you're in a pretty good situation, and you know.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that's worth noting as well is that playing Vassal Fields, Goblin Sneak, and Tetsuko, so he is shutting down an awful lot of what people can play on the defense as well. So I think that's a key element of the deck that's worth noting.
He regretted not having an assassination in the deck because the Shogun apparently said, "Okay, cool, I made a 2 Fate Brash Samurai," and yeah,
Ouch.
I think that was the pain, and that will be a very effective defender against his deck.
Yep.
So yeah, so we sent home. He was big sent home. I'm surprised he didn't. No, striking numbers is free. No, it costs 1. Okay.
All right.
I suppose they're out.
Next one up we have is Gene Cochard's Scorpion deck. Yeah, Justin, have a quick look through it. See if I think the big one is Hantai.
Yeah, Hante. Good old Hante. So he hasn't been kind of the harbinger of the end times that I think we initially thought he might be, but he's still backbreakingly strong if he comes out at the right time. He's super, super powerful. And yeah, I mean, he's effectively another cancel because he redirects an action. He's worse than a cancel, in fact, and he's got the bow effect, so he gives you a bit of dominance in conflicts. Apart from that, we are looking at a fairly standard kind of sit at the open hand build. Interesting to see that we've got 3 favored Nice popping up again in a lot of Scorpion decks. So obviously valuing the ability to cycle through. And then on the conflict side, we have a kind of a mix of the stuff we've been seeing already. We're seeing some assassinations, a little bit more conflict capability with this one playing some Banzais. Censure again making an appearance alongside 3 Forged Edicts. So again, we're seeing the strong focus on counter spells. Court Games, Duty for Shame, all very standard stuff. 1 I Can Swim, 3 Kireko. So obviously he's gone all in again. And Maze of Illusion as well. So we've got an awful lot of in-battle bow. So that's the direction that he took the deck in. Noble Sacrifice. More kill effects. Soul Beyond Reproach for honoring your guys up. Mark of Shame for honoring other people's guys down. Way the Scorpion for some more dishonor. And then the Collector for a bit more attachment control. Kachiko, the Big Bomb, Steward of Law. Again, cheap, efficient conflict character and turns Court Games into another automatic bow. So bow becoming even more, even more of a feature of the deck. And 1 Yoga Kikuyo. So just a kind of long shot spell cancellation, but devastating when it goes off. So yeah. It's a deck that's really gone all in on bowing people during challenges with Hante and the array of conflict deck bow.
So is this Scorpion deck number 4 or number 5?
Probably number 4. I mean, it's fairly similar to decks we've seen before, but it's gone for bowing, slightly kind of cheaper bowing effects as opposed to the more expensive, more difficult to set up kill effects.
Yeah.
So a bit more conflict oriented than the ones we've seen, but I wouldn't say it's a million miles away from the archetypes we've seen.
And does have the Maze of Illusion for some fun. So what is that going to set up? That's going to it'll set up the Alibi Artist, right? And it'll set up I Can Swim and anything else it's going to do in there.
Yeah, one card, that Fighting Walloon mentioned in chat and that I hadn't noticed is playing Maya Library. So actually, is this a flat out? But this doesn't have enough. It doesn't have enough Imperial guys to make it an Imperial deck. But that's an interest. So obviously, this deck is really interested in getting that Emperor on the table. If it's using Maya Library to dig.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
I had heard some feedback that a lot of players who had tried the Hantai style found that you paid a lot to just stall the game for a turn or two, and then after Hante went away, the game got to progress again.
Yeah. I mean, he is one of those characters. Like, he's one of those characters. If you're even slightly ahead and you bring Hante out, then you can really snowball a game from there. But that said, he's a huge investment, so you need to be in a position to capitalize on paying 6 or probably 8 fate for a single character who doesn't actually help if you break provinces. So, but I mean, again, like we see that, like we've got ignoble enforcers, which gives you a guy who can break provinces that doesn't cost an awful lot, and some other characters as well that you probably don't mind putting a bit of fate on. So, yeah.
All right. The next top 18 deck we have is Pierre Rio, who's a Crane player. So obviously we've got Manicured, Appalling, Magistrate, Shameful Display, Rally to the Cause. We're going for a Dragon Splash. Interestingly, it's slightly different than normal. It's a bit split. So instead of going 3 Let Go, we've got 2 Indomitable Wills, 1 Ancient Master, and 2 Tattooed Wanderers. So those are kind of the 4 cards that you'd consider. But spreading it out like that is an interesting approach. This is Keeper of Air rather than Seeker of Air, which is an interesting direction. Again, we're seeing...
Seeker of Fire. Sorry. Crane have Seeker of Fire as their other role.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Oh, sorry. It's the Phoenix.
Yeah. So no,
all right.
So this does unlock specific cards like Soul Beyond Reproach and stuff for Crane that they wouldn't be able to get with Fire.
And Try Again Tomorrow, which is interesting. So that's one of the courtier sent ones, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, and 1 Outwit.
Yeah. So Crane are sending people home now. What is this game becoming?
So what are you going to send home? Why? What characters are problems?
High military, low politics characters, probably. Just get them out so they don't win their military conflict and force them to come back. Either to defend against your political, where you're much stronger, or to attack politically where they're not as good. So it's, I don't know, kind of a tempo card. And also, I mean, if you're attacking someone's stronghold, send home is really powerful. So
yeah, and Try Again Tomorrow will actually work if you're attacking. That's interesting. Try to defend your house tomorrow. All right, the next one we have is Joris Verhest, who is a Phoenix player. This is going down the Hurricane Punch route. So this is a Monk Phoenix deck. So you've got your Kato Kasoris, your Shrine Maidens, 1 Tattoo Wanderer. We've got Fashiko and Charge. Cool. Okay. Who do we not know in here? So they're not playing any of the Phoenix Monk Dynasty characters. Well, you're getting a decent chunk out. Okay, so it's just a minor splash for a bit more aggression.
Tadaka. Charge, though.
Charge
Fujio and Kudaka.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool.
So this is more, let's go time.
But obviously, like, a lot of the kind of core cards are still there. I mean, there is variation, but, it's still got a solid base to build from. Grace of Void.
Yeah, this deck is very strange.
Kudaka is a weird pick. It's a weird flex for Phoenix.
Kudaka? Oh, she was pretty standard up until Ujina came out.
4 costers.
Like, the weird thing is no Tadaka. That's the... I mean, Tadaka...
Charge.
Yeah, you're playing Charge and Fashicho instead of Tadaka, which is very peculiar to me, but it seems to do him pretty well.
But I mean, you're not playing Master of Kisitoshi at all. That's what I find weird in the Kudaka slot.
Yeah, which I again, like, I don't know why you would not play Master of Kisitoshi. Like, it's playing Fire Elemental Guard as well, but it's playing 3 K-Day. Like, the deck is definitely strange, definitely very strange.
And,
but that said...
Ancestral Shrine? This is the return rings to gain some honor?
Return rings to gain honor. It's not entirely terrible. You can do some funky things with it. Like, the deck is just strange. Like, 1 Feral Ningyo, that's very odd. Um, yeah, one display is actually kind of fine. You wouldn't mind that too much. Like it seems to fall. Like it seems to be a fate control deck. You've got Kotei and Agena. You've got consumed by 5 fires. So it seems to be a deck that is intent on establishing fairly dominant board control by stripping fate from enemy characters, and just owning the board that way.
If there wasn't a Phoenix template to work from, and I ended up sitting against this deck and playing against it, I'm pretty sure I'd feel that this deck was strong. So if I wasn't aware that there were cards like Tadaka and those kind of other options out there. So I suspect what this is this a player who knows how to play, knows what good cards are out there, and has kind of adjusted for their own metagame, for what they're expecting, and for their own playstyle. And our players going to be working hard to kind of are they going to save their clouds for Tadaka and never cloud any of his characters?
Very possibly, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could be next level kind of meta thinking. And when you take a look at his conflict deck as well, the way it's constructed, apart from charge, 3 ofs are actually charge and censure, I suppose. But Tadaka isn't necessarily crippling against this deck if you play in a certain kind of conservative way. So,
and he's got the shrines for the matchup as well. So it's not like he didn't realize Tadaka existed.
Oh, absolutely. It's
different.
It's just different. Yeah, absolutely. But
what monks are in this deck? The 3 Shrine Maidens and the Tattooed Wanderer? Is there anyone else?
Kato Kasori is one as well, I think, correct?
Is she?
Yeah, she's a monk as well.
She's a monk.
So it's a hard going, you don't see this coming, monk, hurricane punch. You're like, well, I really see that one coming.
But there's only the hurricane punches, so it doesn't need a lot. It's not like it's packing the void fists as well. It's just an extra boost. You're going to be playing the Shrine Maidens anyway, because they're amazing.
Yeah. I mean, hurricane punch again. Just going back a couple of months, Hurricane Punch was actually a fixture in Phoenix before they got Secret of Air. So back when we were playing, whenever it was, Keeper or something. Actually, kind of the very final kind of Keeper of Water decks played 3 Hurricane Punch. And the only monks in that deck, I think, were 3 Shrine Maiden and 3 Keeper Initiate. So, and maybe Tattooed Wanderer might have been, and maybe 2 Tattooed Wanderers. So there weren't a lot of monks in that either.
No, and because you're doing it both from your conflict side, if you draw into half of it, you just have to wait another turn before you draw another 5 cards and probably get into it. Like 2-part combos in the conflict deck, obviously you'd prefer if they were 1-card combos, but they're in this particular game, because the amount of card draw you have, they're actually a lot more reliable than you might imagine. But yeah, Joris made top 16, which was better than any of us who didn't even turn up. So I personally think decks like this are ones to keep an eye on. Decks that are a little bit divergent from what's the standard, and yet the player of it has done extraordinarily well with it. Okay, the next one is, and we're into the last 3, but I've got a bonus one at the end. Nicholas Dumel, who's playing Scorpion. So, is this Scorpion deck number 7? No. So this looks relatively straightforward. So we're looking at most of the kind of classic cards. We have those Ignoble Enforcers that we were talking about earlier on, which, I did feel that they were quite strong chunk of military force coming out early. Was kind of terrifying. And it set up the City of the Open Hand to start stealing honor straight away. We're looking at a control side and take all your provinces. The dishonor side is not as focused. Again, so we were talking about this 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about the Scorpion situation. And I had broadly made a declaration that Scorpion players sucked, that they'd all abandoned the Fate Worse Than Death and gone with Forged Edict instead, because that was the crutch that they needed. And if only they'd switched over to a Fate Worse Than Death. And a couple of the decks that we'd seen doing well in the Elemental Championships had made that change, and we're doing well because of it. But this tournament, the majority of them we're seeing Forged Edicts. We have seen a couple of decks playing a Fate Worse Than Death, but I think the majority of the Scorpion decks have been playing Forged Edict. So it's a switch again. I don't know what's going on.
you're seeing the power of the air roll in Scorpion, actually. Scorpion have been batting a blinder in terms of making sure they have a great roll no matter what happens. They had Seeker of Void, and then they smoothly pivoted to Seeker of Air just in time to throw Mark Shane and Soul Beyond Reproach into their decks. So they're probably very happy about it.
Yeah, arguably that was a problem with the old system, where the best clans got to pick the best roles, and because of that were the best clans, and got to pick the best roles, and because of that, and so on. But now we've had the shift up, and it's actually players voting for it, so anyone can have whatever roles they want, as long as the players have some sort of kind of alignment in the direction that they're going for. So, all right, we've got, this is a slightly different format, but this is a crab deck by Bert de Huyvetter. Do you want to take us through it, Eoin?
All right, we've got
our Yusuke Baryu, as he's online.
Water. Who's going to play Seeker of Earth? Illustrious Forge. 21 attachments, says that makes some sense. You got Rebels. You've got your standard Kai Envoy, Kibernishi, True Yusuke, Vanguard Warrior, Borderlands Defender, Kai Shuichi, 3 Kodake, sure. 3 Maya Satoshi, sure. 3 Steadfast Witcher, 3 Hita Kasada, 10 holdings of Favorable Ground, Imperial Storehouse, Iron Mine, Crowd District, Kuni Laboratory, and Imperial Palace. So all pretty standard crab, flexible dynasty. 5 Katanas, Ornate Fans, Cloud the Mines, Reprise, Spyglass, Talisman of the Sun, Watch Commander Jade Pursuit. This deck is clearly planning on getting a bunch of guys into play and then keeping them in play with tons of attachments on them. You've got Banzai, Court Games, Defend Your Honor, Rebuild is the restricted card. 1 Spreading the Darkness, 3 Fight On, because it's amazing, and 2 Mountain Does Not Fall. Yeah, get a big guy in play, keep him in play. Womble through matters.
So
yep.
Are crab going to lose Fight On anytime soon?
No, if they can arrange matters. We'll lose Seeker of Earth next, and it will not be terribly well mourned. I think there are some people, Seeker of Void is the leader. There are some people arguing for Seeker of Water, but apart from Fight On, Seeker of Water is not super compelling for us.
Okay.
So I would say we'll have Water for another little bit, and then we'll probably have Water again.
We'll see, because the first one comes around, and then there's a lot of decisions, lots of cards to come out before we can make a decision on that.
Yeah. Jade Tetsubo. That's another 2-cost attachment popping up.
Yeah, but the way you play it now is actually pretty slick. You always attach them as a battle action. I've been playing Jade and Wicked in the deck, and the way you do it is just like, Jade, and they're like, oh, let go. You're like, Defend Your Honor. Oh, I don't attach this before battle at all. This is entirely played within the confines of a battle.
Yeah, it's awesome. Bert was saying in the small write-up he did that the only games he lost were against Eric Balhus, the Shogun, and against Anil Sitharam. So, that's a pretty good performance. This could easily have been a deck that could have gone all the way as well. All right. The next one I have here is one of the... So yeah, Bert made day 2 but didn't make out of it. This one is from Alain Laguerre, who I've met several times, and you will regularly see him in the second days. Although I don't think he's won any big tournaments. I know he's made Hanamoto a couple of times, but he is a regular fixture in the European scene. He's an extremely good Crane player. Justin, how different is this from the Shoguns, or is it a similar approach?
Yeah. Really not different at all. There's there are a couple of cards difference maybe on each side. Basically, it's the same deck. Like in archetype, absolutely the same deck. Almost an identical build. As I said, a few minor differences, but basically the same.
And actually, that is something worth noting, because the Crane players are noted for talking about it, sharing their strategy, working together to put together the best decks that they possibly can. So that may be what was happening there, which is always cool to see. And actually, we're going to have the Crane pack coming out soon, and one of the things we'll be expecting to see is the Crane board put together a full review of all of the Crane cards. So yeah,
Awesome.
I always like seeing that. They always do a great job of working together and doing what they can for the clan. So you'll often see some strong Crane decks come out that have been worked on by several players, which I mean, as we discussed, has been an option for the Phoenix and has happened with the Dragon before. Getting the right players behind you does certainly seem to help in the competitive scene. All right, so those are all of the day 2 qualification decks.
One other thing that's maybe worth noting, maybe not, the number of holdings that are being played in decks now. So almost all the decks we've seen have between 9 and 11 holdings. So decks are now playing roughly an average of 10 holdings, which is a significant change from from what we saw even a few months ago. So
I think the holdings are a way to squeeze out a little bit more efficiency. Like those. My perfect first turns are where you get a 1-cost character like a Doomsgenja for me, and you get the Imperial Palace and 2 Imperial Storehouses. That's like everything. That's glorious. Whereas if I just get a Doomsgenja and a bunch of other characters, that's probably going to be a lot more efficient. I'll have more choices, but it doesn't have that same blowout potential. Oh, you were saying that Alwyn, when he went out against the Shogun, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
And that was a case where all of the holdings just came back.
Basically, he saw 6 holdings and 8 cards on turn 2 and 3. And that was what she wrote.
Yeah, and he's playing 9, which is arguably low on the 9 to 11 that we seem to be seeing a lot here.
So it's interesting. I mean, the thing is, the problem is you'll never buy 5 guys in your or 4 guys in your dynasty unless you flip a really weird flip. Okay, he lost the Nuggets with it. That was the semifinals, yeah. So you'll never buy the 4 characters you flip.
Yeah.
So why not have 1 or 2 holdings? Because you're not going to be buying your guys anyway, all your guys anyway. It's an interesting bit of tension that these guys, like especially stuff like Favorable Ground and Imperial Storehouse, can be just fire and forget resources, which are just handy. And Imperial Palace can grab you the favor if it flips at the right time, which is pretty sexy.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean that's where we are kind of with it right now. It means they're going to have to be kind of careful about what unaligned holdings they print and what other holdings they print for people. So yeah, it is interesting. Like I haven't been Crab have gotten 3 really good holdings, and most of the rest of them are not very good.
Yeah, but Crab started that trend with a vast array of holdings that they've been running for quite a while.
Because you had rebuild, and rebuild was pretty ridiculous, and then they restricted rebuild, and rebuild became a little less prevalent in Crab. There are other cards you can play, so it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting paradigm. I'm not sure holdings are quite working. Again, holdings are either kind of fire and forget stuff or additional useful effects. Not many of them are, I want to defend and keep this alive. And there's not many of them that your opponent's like, I need to attack and kill. There are some, but Karada and Kanjo and a couple of the ones. But it's interesting. I'm not sure it's fully figured out what they're for. Are they additional resources to kind of accelerate your game in general, or are they something else? So it's interesting. Like Imperial Storehouse is just good solid card. Favorable Ground is really excellent. So yeah, it's interesting.
It's definitely a consideration that we need to make for decks. Do we try squeeze out that extra efficiency or that little bit more reliability? You know, do we need to push it for those games to get that edge, or do we need to make sure that we don't accidentally just blow the entire thing? Okay, I have one last deck for us to have a look at here. So this is a different approach to the Crane decks we've seen so far, and instead it went for Unicorn Splash with 3 Gaijin Customs, 2 Favored Mounts, 2 Spyglass, and 2 Talisman of the Suns. Justin, have a quick look over this and see what you think. This deck did do extremely well. So it just barely missed a cut on day 1. So it went 4-2 on the first day, and then it went 4-1 on the second day, I believe it was.
Okay, well, it looks fairly standard from the Dynasty deck. I mean, there are a few cards that stick out, like there's a single Tengu Sensei. It's running 3. Where is she? Hataru, which she's kind of generally fallen out of favor. We see kind of actually the standard 10 Crane holdings at this stage. 2 favorable, 3 Imperial, 3 Dojo, 3 and 1 Palace. On the conflict side, Assassination, 2 Banzai, 1 Censure, 2 Court Games, so down by 1 Defend Your Honor. That's kind of surprising, maybe. 3 for Shame, 3 Gaijin Customs. Okay, so 3 Gaijin Customs, which is spend 1 to straighten a non-unicorn.
But you have to have a
non-unicorn.
You have to have a unicorn card in play. So you
have to have a unicorn card in play.
One of the 3. So favorite mount,
that's why you've got
Talisman.
Yeah. Okay. So and that's why we've got the favorite mounts over more spyglasses. It's just to squeeze out the maximum number of attachments while maintaining a semblance of power levels. Obviously, talismans and spyglasses, we know all about those. Yeah. Okay. So it's looking to generate a powerhouse and then basically repeatedly smash it into your opponent.
Favorite mount, guest of honor, and then no cards for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the invitation, formal invitation, was appearing in a lot of the other decks, and I think this one is a solid choice by replacing the formal invitation with the favored mounts, which does the same but more, and then with the spyglass, you're able to get a lot more leverage out of it. But with all of that, I mean, it does lose out on the fate control or the attachment control. So the only attachment control that I can see straight off is the Frostbitten Crossing.
And 3 Maya Mystic.
Oh, and the Maya Mystics, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not running Noble Sacrifice. I don't know, maybe it's simply aiming to just, well, I mean, okay, so Talisman's going to buy you time because you can push them into provinces where they don't want to be, so you can maximize your defensive potential. So I mean, this is a deck that clearly intends to defend as well, obviously. So Frostbitten Crossing, yeah. I mean, using a talisman to force a tower, force an enemy tower into a Frostbitten Crossing, and then strip the entire tower is pretty devastating. And yeah, getting your built-up duelists into conflicts and then using Kikita Dojo to remove their abilities and bow them is powerful. So yeah, it's going for kind of conflict dominance with a few tools like Talisman, which are designed to give you a bit of flex when it comes to your defensive tactics. It's interesting.
I think there arguably might be some gambles with it against Dragon. So this is Darren's deck. He just missed the cut. His matchups were Scorpion, Phoenix.
Jesus.
So he had a pretty rough lineup. He lost one of the Scorpion and he lost that final Phoenix matchup. But yeah,
that's the winning in.
Like seeing the approach that some of the other decks have taken, I quite like this. I mean, you're essentially giving up the elements that the Dragon Splash give you, and you're taking a bit of a risk. But if you can kind of dodge that and hope for the best, then it might win out. Anyway, I thought that one was an interesting one. The other, and we were looking forward to him recounting his tales on how that particular game went. The other thing is we've recently seen a preview go up. So this one hit the Discord while we were chatting away. So it looks like some of the packs are beginning to get out there. So this, obviously the Unicorn pack is maybe a week or two at most away from this. So this is the ones we haven't seen yet. It's a 0-cost event, Spoiled War, Reaction. So it's a 2-influence event. Reaction. After you win a military conflict as the attacker, draw 3 cards, then choose and discard 1 card from your hand. Max 1 per conflict. So, Eoin, hot takes.
Reminds me of our handshake, really, from Old Raw Deal. So, winning military conflict should be something a unicorn should be able to do. Drawing more cards is happy, and then you get to choose and discard a card from your hand, not one of the three you drew. So, happy days. Are unicorn willing to pay a card that draws more cards when they win a military conflict?
It can be one of the cards you drew.
No, it can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Oh, it doesn't have to be. Sorry, yeah, it doesn't have to be.
So that's happy days. Good card, solid card free. Will it see play? Ooh, maybe not outside unicorn. But I mean, Jesus, I'd try it. Draw more cards is good. It is a card that won't help you win the conflict at all.
Yeah.
It is max for one per conflict, but yeah, I will be. Hey, worst case, you got two. You can just grab one of them. You know, draw three cards. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's more unicorn. I'm winning, so let's time to start winning some more.
Yeah, I'm not sure it is going to see play because the hidden cost of this card is the card itself. So you are spending this card and discarding a card to draw three cards. So it's giving you access, but the sum total effect of this card is that you draw a single card. So I'm not sure that lines up in any way with the power levels that we see in competitive decks. So my hot take would be that this is actually garbage. But that said, it may enable, like if you're pushing towards combos and stuff like that, yeah, maybe sure. But the way Unicorn looks like they're going to be playing in the near future, I'm not so sure. So for me, yeah, for me, this is a bad card at the moment. But some hideous combo could come up and make it good. I don't know.
All right. And that's us for this evening. Well done. We've managed to get through 20 decks, so that was a pretty intensive performance. We've looked at a brand new spoiler that we, snagged off someone who leaked it online. Yay for us. And we've had a look at all number of numbers and stats. So I think, do we have time for a little story, Justin?
Yeah, well, I think we also need to announce the sad demise of Beaver Facts. It's had a long run, so this is a decision we all sadly came to. So we're replacing it.
So Owen's summer in Ontario, living in a beaver dam for 3 weeks, is going to be wasted. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
I'll just go to Jen, so it'll be grand.
But we thought we'd replace it by doing a yokai every week. So yokai are they're a class of supernatural spirits, creatures, and monsters in Japan. So they can range from huge, mighty demons down to spirits that inhabit household implements and things like that. So there's a huge range of them, and they're very, very key, very, very important in Japanese folklore and Japanese mythology. So, so to start us off, we're going to start with the letter A. So we're going to do an akaname. So an akaname is, the name translates as filth liquor. So it is a small goblin-like creature, kind of about the size of a child perhaps, which inhabits only the dirtiest places, like the filthiest homes and the most unkept, foul public baths. So it has a twisted, hunching posture. Its skin and hair are slimy, and it actually comes in a wide variety of colors, from the colors of kind of dark green or brown, like rotting vegetation, all the way to the color, all the way to kind of to bright red, like sores or something like that, buboes. They can have one or two eyes. They can have between 1 and 5 fingers and toes. But their main feature is a long, sticky tongue, which they use to lap up all the filth, all the feculence and every type of foulness, which they find anywhere, at the bottom of baths, behind toilets, everywhere. So they're really, really horrible things. So, and they stay clear of humans. They like to stay away from people as much as possible, and they will run away from light like cockroaches. And they are also known to spread diseases. So it is very wise to keep a clean and healthy house so that you don't attract akaname. And there we go.
All right, we'll wrap it up there then. Thank you for listening to episode 47 of Imperial Advisor. You can check out our content on imperialadvisor.com, and you can keep up to date by following Imperial Advisor on Facebook and Twitter. We will be back in another 2 weeks, so I think that is the 11th of April. And I hope you'll join us then. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Take care. Bye, everybody.